Because a lot of people will think it's like disobedience. You have a bad dog because they're reactive. Your dog is not disobedient. Your dog is not a bad dog. And your dog is not trying to be alpha or any of that BS that is, aversive training 101. Okay. It's an emotional overreaction. It is the brain saying we are in danger. That's it. The brain is uncomfortable with the scenario that is playing out. It could be an OCD behavior. It could be a trigger response. It could be anything, but it's not good. It's not a good emotion. It's not a fun, yes, let me play with that person, that thing, that dog. It is, I am uncomfortable and I am in fight or flight and I'm going to tell everybody to stay away from me. Hello and welcome to Paws and Pacifiers, the podcast where we navigate the joyful, sometimes challenging journey of raising dogs and babies together. I'm your host, Jamie Caponetta, canine behavior consultant, mom, and your guide to fostering a blissful bond between your dog and your little one. Each episode will dive into practical tips, share expert advice, and feature stories from other parents just like you, all designed to help you create a harmonious home where everyone, including your dog, can thrive. Whether you're pregnant and preparing your dog for the arrival of a new baby, or you're juggling a toddler and a terrier, this is your spot for support and solutions. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and we'll make life with dogs and babies as smooth and as sweet as possible. Welcome back to the Paws and Pacifiers podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be talking about fixing reactivity in our dogs in general, but also what does that look like around a baby, around a toddler, so many different things. So this is probably one of the biggest questions I'm asked all the time, just reactive dogs everywhere. I don't know what it is. Ever since COVID, we've, really extended, increased our amount of reactive, stressed out, anxious dogs, which I think translates to humans as well, but that's another story for another day. So quick story. Before I was a dog and baby expert, I was a trainer. I was a behavioral trainer. I did focus on emotions. But once I was pregnant with JJ, my first, he is now 5. We, at the time, had 3 dogs, and we still do, but one is now deceased and we got a new one. I was always worried because she's such a barker. I was like, how's this going to work? Now, a lot of people say, well, you're a trainer. Why does your dog bark? My dog barks. Pudge barks. She's a 12-pound Chihuahua. She is a communicator. She always lets us know what's going on, and I'm not going to reprimand her for telling me that she's upset. Now, there are times that she's more upset than others. We can definitely tell when she's more stressed out. Obviously, when we have more people over, she's going to bark. Now, she could bark because she's reactive and she could bark because she wants attention. Both go hand in hand with her. Again, she's extremely communicative, okay? Whereas the other two only really bark if Pudge is barking, and most of the time, they don't even know why they're barking. They're just joining in. Otherwise, they're extremely quiet. Okay, people can come over, and if Pudge isn't barking, they are quiet. So really, they just kind of tag along with her. But what I was most worried about is she going to wake the baby? Is this going to be such a big problem that I'm going to be losing it, that as this baby is trying to sleep, that I am getting so frustrated with her that, it starts to get in the way of our relationship, which is what I really didn't want. I didn't want to have our first baby. And now our actual first baby, our first, dog baby, was now feeling the repercussions of us bringing a baby into her world. And now her quirks and her behavior is no longer acceptable. And I did not want that. And I didn't want her to associate JJ negatively because he is the reason why everything changed for her, right? So this was something that I was, concerned about, and we really dug into before JJ came. First off, it is hysterical, but if you have a barker, your baby will hear the barking in the womb right off the bat, okay? And it will become very normal. It's almost like desensitization, okay? This baby will come out knowing your dog's bark. Now, anecdotally, I know this because I have 3 babies, and Pudge has been here for all 3 of them, and her barking has pretty much stayed the same. Every single time that I have a baby and they come out, they are unfazed by Pudge's barking. They're almost like, oh, that's who's been yelling at me, okay? And they sleep right through it. So that's first. If you have a normal barker. Now, this does not go for, let's say you don't have a dog or a couple doesn't have a dog and they have a baby and then they go visit grandparents or a friend or aunt, uncle, what have you, and that person has a dog, yes, if that dog barks and it's a bark that your baby is not desensitized to, is not used to, yes, it may startle them, it may wake them up, it may catch their attention. Okay, this goes mostly for your dog who you experience day in and day out, and the behavior is the same. Okay, all three of my boys did not acknowledge Pudge's barking as anything weird, and it never woke them up. Okay, so that's first. That's my little quick story I wanted to go over. That barking can be an issue, but it isn't always. Okay, so if that is something that you are struggling with, you're like really nervous about, take some deep breaths. It's not like the end all be all. It's not to say that your baby is going to really care. Okay. Now, you're not alone in this. This is so fixable, and you're not a bad dog parent for having a dog that barks. Reactivity is normal. Just like I said in the beginning of this, so many of our dogs that are around 5-6 years old are COVID dogs. If they were young during that time, they got no socialization. So then when the world started going back to normal and people were coming over and like all these things that were happening, they're like, wait, we don't do this. What is this? Why are we socializing? Who are these people? Why are they coming over? So they started having emotions about it, whether it's, excited, friendly emotions that they have to work through. They never learned how to self-regulate or learn impulse control. Yeah, they're gonna be overexcited and maybe bark from excitement, because Pudge definitely barks from excited when certain people come in. And then there's her other bark when she doesn't know the person and they make her uncomfortable. She is definitely more reactive barking. Okay. We want to make sure that we are identifying what kind of bark it is. But you're not a bad mom or dad for this being what your dog's experiencing. Sometimes it's much better for our dogs to be communicative than be so silent and then just like land a bite or hurt somebody accidentally because they're not communicating properly. But really, what is reactivity? Okay, let's just dive into that real quick, because a lot of people will think it's like disobedience. You have a bad dog because they're reactive. Your dog is not disobedient. Your dog is not a bad dog, and your dog is not trying to be alpha or any of that BS that is, aversive training 101. Okay, it's an emotional overreaction. It is the brain saying we are in danger. That's it. The brain is uncomfortable with the scenario that is playing out. It could be an OCD behavior. It could be a trigger response. It could be anything, but it's not good. It's not a good emotion. It's not a fun, yes, let me play with that person, that thing, that dog. It is, I am uncomfortable and I am in fight or flight, and I'm going to tell everybody to stay away from me. Okay. And that's what we need to fix. We need to make sure that our dogs are really feeling like they are safe. Okay. If we are fixing the body's reaction that is saying we are not safe, we will fix the problem. Okay, that's first and foremost. We don't want to be suppressing emotions. We don't want to yell. We don't want to correct physically or emotionally. No leash pops, nothing, no prong collars, no bark collars, none of that. Okay, we don't want anything aversive, nothing punitive, because all you are saying during that time, whether you're on a walk or inside your house, if you are yelling, getting terse with your dog, getting frustrated, hitting, correcting physically, all your dog is saying is that when this trigger, person, dog, cat, thing, whatever's outside, whatever's inside, whenever this thing comes around, the people I love are turning on me. They do not want to hear what I have to say. They are now upset with me. So the trigger and then the people I love are turning on me. What do you think is going on in your dog's head? They're basically saying, this trigger, I hated it to begin with, and now I hate it even more because my mom and dad are no longer happy with me, right? They're treating me poorly, and they're acknowledging that. So now the thing that they previously hated, they really hate, because it's tacked on to more negative things happening, okay? Just like I said in the previous episode, when you have a baby and then that baby turns into a toddler, now you have another baby, you want to make that new baby come in and be a resource giver to the older child, not a resource taker. Now, all of a sudden, we don't get to go to the park. I get yelled at for crying. I get yelled at for being too loud. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't go near the baby. I'm getting yelled at 24/7. When did it change? When the baby came home. And it's the baby's fault. Okay. We don't want to make the trigger the problem. Okay. The trigger is just the thing at the end of the day that your dog has emotions attached to right now. So again, they're not being disobedient. They are saying, I don't like this. So what is your job? Your job is to make them like it. So no more negativity, nothing like that. Okay. The trigger needs to bring all good things. We are going to be, now this is the gold, okay? This is what people pay big money to get by working with me one-on-one, okay? This is the way to truly fix reactivity at its core, okay? It is praising, treating, getting excited, okay? While they are losing their minds. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. I know it sounds like you're praising bad behavior. You're telling your dog it's okay to bark, lunge, and growl. I know. I get it. And I know it sounds so weird because it's probably against everything you have ever learned in dog training for years, okay? But really you're basically gentle parenting your dog, okay? You're not saying it's okay to bark, lunge, and growl because dogs don't learn by cause and effect. Just like toddlers, they are at a 2-year-old, 3-year-old learning age. So they will never exceed that. Even if you have the most intelligent dog in the world, they will not exceed the fact that they learn and think like a 2 and 3-year-old. Okay. So all they know is association. When this thing comes around, this is how I feel. Okay. Not I'm getting yelled at because I'm barking. They don't understand that when you yell at them for barking, they're not saying, oh, I'm getting yelled at because I'm barking. They think I'm getting yelled at because this thing is here. Okay. So a lot of times we're saying we're correcting bad behavior. No, you're just associating negatively with a trigger. Okay. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that any longer. We want to say, no, this is a good thing. So we're saying, yes, good girl. Yes, good boy. And we are treating like human Pez dispenser, shoving the most high value food in your dog's mouth on walks with the stroller inside the house. It doesn't matter where you are. Okay. If they are having an emotional response, a negative emotional response to anything, you are praising, treating, and getting excited. You are not using obedience. Throw it out the window. Don't use obedience. Okay. That is like, you're having a really, really intense argument with your spouse and you may be really good at math, but somebody says, can you do this math problem as you're literally fighting with your spouse? And you're like, no, I can't do that math problem for you right now. I am like heated. I am so dysregulated. And you want me to do a math problem? You'd be like, get that away from me, right? This is the same thing. Your dog is barking, lunging, and growling at something that it thinks it's in threat, right? Your dog is in fight or flight. And they're like, you want me to sit and go to my place? You know I know how to do that. Why are you asking me to do that right now? That's not going to help me like the trigger anymore. If anything, it's going to stress me out more because I know I know how to do that. And you're asking me to do that right now. And I know if I don't do it, I'm going to get reprimanded. So I need to do it. And it's this whole big thing. So stop with the obedience. It's apples and oranges. We're not looking for obedient dogs. We're looking for dogs who no longer have negative associations with triggers. Really, what do you want? You want a dog that doesn't bark as much. You don't want a dog who is an army dog. You don't want this police dog, okay? You have a family dog. So we need to train our dogs like they're family dogs, not like they're police dogs. So don't distract. Don't ask them to do anything, okay? All you're looking to do is show them when this trigger comes around, only good things happen for them. Treats, praise, love, attention, the whole nines, okay? They will regulate so much quicker if they know they still have you. They have their parents, they have the support, they have the love, they have the resources. When the mailman comes every day, the mail carrier comes, they get hot dogs and string cheese. Mom's really happy with me. Dad's throwing me a party. Mailman's not so bad after a while. It has to be consistent and needs to be often, okay? Short spurts of this. It doesn't need to be for hours on end. But if you work from home and you know, it's an ample opportunity to work with your dog, yeah, keep the treats near your office, you know, on your desk. If you work in a different part of the house and the dog's barking in the other part of the house, maybe shut the blinds until you're able to actually help on your lunch break. If you are taking a lunch break, if you work from home, you should be taking a lunch break. I always put that out there. Work-life balance. You need to eat. We want to be showing them that these things are actually not a problem. Okay. Now that is how we fix reactivity. Take all the babies out of it. That's how we do it. Okay. Praise, treat, get excited. You are a human Pez dispenser. You are not stopping. You should sound insane. And if you don't sound insane, you're not doing it right. If you're monotone, they don't believe you. If you are stressed, if you go on walks with your dog and they're like losing it and you're stressed, if you're like, oh my God, I don't want people to hate my dog. I don't want my neighbors to think my dog is bad. Especially if you have a pity of any sort, you're going to be, oh my God, I know my dog is the best dog in the world, but everybody thinks they're a monster. It doesn't matter. That's taking your energy away from this scenario and this situation. So throw that out the window. Don't put that energy towards your dog and their training. Not who cares, okay? If anything, if you feel compelled to do so, say, sorry, we're training. That's all you have to say. You don't need to make excuses. You know your dog is a good dog. Your dog is a good dog. Your dog is safe. You are safe. You are going to figure this out. If you have to tell yourself that before you leave the house for your walks, do it. Your dog is a great dog. You know that, okay? We just got to work through this issue. Put all your energy towards your dog and the reactivity will fade away because the reactivity is a symptom of a problem. It's not the actual problem. But if you fix the actual problem, the symptom goes away, just like with illnesses. Okay, we have to fix the root of the problem. We're not going to manage it. We're not going to correct it. We're not going to put a Band-Aid over it. We suture up big wounds so we can actually live our lives and enjoy our dogs for the short time that they are with us. Okay, so that's reactivity in general. Now, why does this get worse when a baby comes? This can be for multiple reasons, okay? Your baby can bring stress, okay? The sounds of crying and less sleep and, mom and dad are dysregulated and cortisol levels are up, schedules changing, new sights and sounds, the crying all the time, the stroller, the swing that moves, just a lot changes when we have a baby. And a lot of times we don't notice it because we're kind of just in it. Once the baby's here, we're like, all right, here we are. We're in baby mode. But your dog was like, wait, I didn't go to the hospital. Like right there, like you were fine when you left and then you came home with this thing and now everyone's kind of all over the place, right? So they didn't really get like that transition. That's nice. They pick up on your stress. They pick up on your hormones changing. The attention shifts. Again, like I said, the schedule's changing. This is big. This basically is trigger stacking in a very mild way. We don't see it. It's not like, and if you don't know what trigger stacking is, I always use this example, picture a really tall cheeseburger, okay? You start stacking the cheeseburger and the more you stack it, the more things you put on it, the more meat, the more patties, the more, cheese, all the good stuff, it starts to wobble. It starts to wobble the higher it goes up because the foundation is not strong enough to handle what you stacked on top, okay? So I'll use the example of like going for walks. If you go for a walk with your dog and they see something that sets them off, let's say they see a person just like in their garage, whatever, they bark, right? They get all worked up. Maybe they go to like a 5. Then they see another person. Maybe they go to the 8, right? Then maybe they see a squirrel, but we're like 20 minutes into the walk now and they're getting tired. They see a squirrel that normally would be a 2, but because they got stacked to 8, their reaction to the squirrel is a 9 or a 10. And you're plumb confused because you're like, I don't get it. It's just a squirrel. But they had trigger stacking prior. So they can't give you the 2 reaction because they were already at an 8. Okay. So that's what we called, trigger stacking. We want to figure out their threshold. And if they need less time on walks, like maybe only a 10-minute walk, go for it. But it may be a time thing. It may be too many triggers all at once. Okay. So that's trigger stacking. So that's what this is. A lot of times we are trigger stacking in the background and our dogs are kind of just like going through the motions, but we are inadvertently trigger stacking them like daily, always. If they're not sleeping well, that's a big thing. So you didn't just bring a baby home, you brought a home, a full-blown environmental shift. And I think because again, we're so in it, we're like working through our own emotions of like, we're trying to take care of this baby. Like we have no idea what we're doing. How did the hospital let us leave with this little individual? So we forget what our dogs are really going through, like from their point of view through their eyes. So we don't really notice it. It's just something that we want to be aware of. Okay. So how can we deal with our dog's reactivity struggles on a normal day with a baby? Okay. So number one thing people always ask me is like walks with the stroller. What I would suggest to do if your dog is reactive and you have big dreams of going on walks with your baby, and your dog coming along, you need to work on the reactivity with the stroller empty prior. So work on it with your dog. Like I just said, everything I just told you to do, praise, treat, get excited with no stroller. Work really heavily on that. Okay. Then once they start to, really reap the benefits of that, we start to see some change, bring the empty stroller. Or you could put a fake baby in it. It makes you feel any better. And do that. and practice. You're holding the stroller and your dog, okay? Practice short, calm walks, okay? If you have to start off with doing your walks during the time where there's not a lot of people walking, go for it. Be strategic. And then as they get better at it, you can add in more hustle and bustle times. Maybe the kids are coming home from school, or there's more people outside, there's more dog walkers, because it's lunchtime, things like that. Don't combine like stressful things with, like, don't try and like do two birds, one stone with this. Like, all your energy should be towards the training. So like, don't combine like walks with errands. We want to make sure that you're fully focused. Like, you're not trying to do something on your phone as you're walking, or you're not like taking a business call as you're like walking with your dog. So fully immersed in the training with your dog on this walk. Okay. Now, barking while baby is sleeping, okay? Again, like I said, your baby will most likely know what the sound of the barking sounds like before they even come out. Now, your baby may be more sensitive to this. Your baby may have other issues they're dealing with, maybe medical or other things that are going on. So they may be like a really sound sleeper, or maybe they can't sleep in their own room by themselves with the sound machine on. Maybe they're, contact nappers. There's so many different scenarios with kids sleeping that we have to take into account. My kids are crib sleepers. After 3 months, for the most part, we put them in their cribs with sound machines. That's how our family goes. But I know not all families are like that. So you may co-sleep, maybe, if a different setup in the living room, so to speak, like more so where the dog is going to be. Best thing you can do is set up a sound machine, white noise, in the area where your dog tends to hang out and bark. Okay. So that sound machine is on, especially if you're working from home or you're a stay-at-home mom. That sound machine is on during the hustle and bustle times during the day. So it drowns out some of those noises for your dog. This can really aid us. Now, this doesn't need to be a forever thing. We can use it as something to kind of like lead us to where we want to go. But we have the sound machine on full blast in the beginning, and you can sit there with your dog. Maybe your baby is, maybe you're nap trapped. Put yourself in a situation where you could still treat your dog as they're looking out the window, or as they're looking out the door, what have you. And you have these treats on you, you're set up to go, and you can praise and treat your dog while they're reacting to the very, couple things that they do see. The white noise should really help their agitation to constantly be looking out the window, or like listening for sounds or hearing every little thing. That can definitely really, really help you here. So we're rewarding them, praising them, treating them, even when they're reacting. And you can even reward them for the quiet moments. Now, that doesn't work as well as most trainers think, like, oh, I only reward them when they quiet down. No, the trigger is just gone, and they're no longer barking, and they think you're just giving them a treat. So it's fine. You can still do it. It's not going to hurt, but don't just do that. You have to praise them and treat them while they're losing their minds, because they need to associate the bad thing, with goodness. Okay. The other thing that you can do is, when you know that there are times of the day that your dog usually loses their mind, is reactive quite a bit. Maybe again, it's when the kids come off the bus, or when all the dog walkers are out because it's noon and everybody wants a lunch break. You are giving high value, long lasting, usually frozen enrichment to your dog. Not snuffle mats, not Kong wobblers, not, the puzzle games. Those are great. They really are. I love them. They're fabulous. I don't use them myself because my dogs are like done in 5 seconds and I have to sit there and keep putting the treats in. I don't like that. I prefer enrichment that I can hand off to my dog and it's going to keep them busy for 20 to 30 minutes. They're sitting down, licking, biting, chewing in a rhythm, and eyes closed, zen, like they're getting a massage. That's what we're looking for. And if you can time it with the times that they're usually more reactive or most agitated, because a lot of times when dogs have chemical imbalances or, trauma, they tend to pick up like OCD behaviors of like, oh, this is the time I eat. Well, yep, this is the time I bark. You want to acknowledge that and say, okay, like let's say 2:00 is a rough time for them. At 1:55, you're handing off that frozen enrichment. We're beating them to the punch. So we can change the OCD behavior, the OCD routine into something different. So now at 1:55, they're going to be looking for their enrichment versus, ooh, it's time to bark, right? Now, guests coming to meet baby, prep your dog beforehand, okay? If they like walking and walks don't stress them out, go for a nice, long, relaxing walk. Sniff walk. Even if, like, let's say they are reactive, go to, like, the woods. Like, don't walk them by anybody. Like, let them relax, okay? Frozen enrichment. So frozen enrichment is going to be your best friend with this. Keeping them busy before, during, and after people come. Huge, huge setup, okay? Again, last episode, I talked about your dog being able to be separated, to be in a crate, to have some sort of isolation by themselves. That is not negative. You need to work on that. You need to make sure that you have clear boundaries with your dog, that they can go and rest and recoup by themselves when you have guests over, and then come and rejoin the party, because sometimes dogs can't last all day around people. They're introverts sometimes, and they need time to rest, just like people do. An hour of socialization, maybe people are there all day for something. Go and chill in your room for like 20 minutes of silence. Then, recharge your batteries, come back out. Same things with dogs. Sometimes they just need some alone time, okay? Your dog doesn't have to love your guests. They just need to feel safe. That's really what it comes down to. So in all these situations, do they feel safe? Do they trust you? Right? And if they can trust you and they believe you and they say, okay, mom's telling me I'm a good boy, I'm a good girl, I believe her. And slowly but surely that reactivity will settle down. Another really good tip is to, when they're meeting people, to keep them moving. So if guests are coming over to meet the baby, don't be stagnant with your dog. Keep them on a leash if you think that we have a safety issue going on, and walk them around the house. Don't let them be stagnant. Don't let them stare at anybody. Don't make them stay in place, because if they're staring at somebody, they're not happy. Okay. Move them around, figure eights, walk through the house, do what you have to do. So they have something else to do. When they're focused on someone they don't like, it never goes well. But if they're able to see that person and walk and sniff and get treats, their brain is going to regulate in other areas. It's going to split and say, okay, that person's over there. Oh, my mom and dad are walking me around, and I can sniff and I can do this. Ooh, look at that. They can regulate on their own, and that's big. Don't make them stay and be stagnant. All right, let's wrap this up. I think this was a great episode for anybody who's dealing with reactivity before, after, during baby, doesn't matter. Reactivity is one of the biggest things I see across the board. And it's something that can be fixed. So don't think that you have to stay in this management lifestyle. That's not fun. So let's do what we can do for your dog now and make the situation as positive as possible. So when baby comes, you're not yelling at them for just being a dog and doing the thing that they've always done. Okay. Your baby isn't ruining your dog. Your dog isn't broken. You're not a bad dog mom, even though things feel really messy right now and you're exhausted. You're just learning two languages at once, and your baby and your dog, it's no small thing. Okay. This is life-changing stuff. So when you work on reactivity, you can bring such peace of mind for everybody involved. And, your dog doesn't want to be reactive. That's not fun for them. It's not an enjoyable place to be. It's like that dog I keep talking about from yesterday that I was working on. Her mom and dad said she's always at an 8 or a 10, 0 to 10. 10 is your red zone. They said that she's just always stressed. Her cortisol levels are like super high all the time, even when things are normal and good. And that's just not a good place. It's not healthy for somebody to be like that. And this goes for moms too. If you're struggling with anxiety, it's not a good place to be. Talk to your doctor. Okay. I did, and it made a huge, huge difference in my life. So if you are wondering what kind of dog you have, I'm going to encourage you to take our quiz, our custom baby prep toolkit. It's going to be, is your dog ready for baby? Is your dog ready for this big change? And you're going to answer a series of questions super quick to learn what kind of dog you have. And then from that, you'll get your free toolkit that will tell you exactly what's going on, what that means, what the definition of your dog means, what their superpower is, okay, what to feed into when baby comes, what their kryptonite is, what things going off of your quiz can you anticipate to struggle with when baby comes? Okay. And then what is the antidote? How do we fix these things? That toolkit will give you all those answers and more. There's just so much going on in those. It's a no-brainer if you're about to have a baby or already have a baby. There's so much in there that will help you get started immediately for free. So I suggest you take that quiz and you can find that at jamiecaponetta.com and let us know what your results are. We would love to hear from all of you. And just a reminder, calm is possible, connection is possible, and you got this, okay? Everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining me.